first thing that I want you to be able to do is know that to truly market yourself, you need to know what an employer is looking for and what you need to offer those employers. It takes more than a college degree. College degree is critical. It's very, very important to have one, but today's employers are looking for specific skill sets that will make it better and easier for you to meet their needs. That often means while you are working with your advisor that you need to deliberately select college courses that will help you gain those skills and experiences that will make the employers understand what you have to offer them. Employers look at many critical things. GPA is one of them. Up to 70% of employers will determine who to interview based on your grade point average. So that's something that we always stress. Gaining your degree will also let them know that you can achieve a goal, that you have a basic understanding of how to write and communicate with others. So it is a critical step in making yourself more marketable. But it's just the first step. I really encourage students when they come in the office to work to identify the skills they already have. And non-traditional students typically have more skills to offer than my traditional aged undergraduates. You've gained those skills through work experience, through volunteer experiences that you've done for your own enjoyment. And it's very important that you take an inventory of those skills and keep a list so that you can relate them to what the employers wish you to have later on. For example, perhaps you've worked in a retail position. Many of us who have done that have helped with inventory. So think about, why do we track inventory? We need to make certain we have stock on the shelf when our customers come in. We need to be certain that we are actually receiving what the shipment said we are receiving. So understand not just the task you are performing, what's the reason behind the task. Because any organization is going to perform an inventory, and the fact that you've participated may be a real advantage that you aren't aware an employer would be interested in them. Customer service is also critical. You know, how we support the people who need our help, how you resolve problems when they come in. And these are things that you can start a list of and be certain that you keep identifying them, often difficult to do because we take for granted that we have these skills. I believe many of us feel if I can do it, anyone can do it, and it's not valuable. But employers need to know how it is valuable, and if you don't tell them what you have to offer, they simply don't know. So it's critical to start that list and to be certain you understand how to tell them why they need to bring you into their organization. Once we have the list, we need to start backing it up with solid examples of how we have applied these skills. So you've told me you have strong customer service skills. Tell me about a time when you used those skills. We will need these examples to help make your resume stronger. You will definitely need them should you get an interview, and hopefully the cover letter you write will include a couple of these to get you to that stage. So let's say an employer is looking for leadership skills. You may have gained leadership skills from participating in a student organization, or maybe you worked on a project in your local schools as part of the parent-teacher organization or something similar to that. We can pull our skills and our examples from a wide variety of areas. So it's not just what we have done in the higher education setting, it's all the experiences you have brought forward to this point. And you want to look at all of them and be prepared to share that information that is relevant with an employer. So as I mentioned, they are not worried about where you gained the experience, just that you can share an example that supports that experience and that will illustrate for them why that skill will be important to them in their workplace. This is a process that many times you'll need to talk to somebody to help you list those skills. Because again, you may not have thought about identifying everything you do and you bring to the table and then transferring it into a situation where perhaps an employer will be reviewing your skills and applying it to their workplace. One of the best ways I know to do that is to look at a job posting. I am always telling students they should start reading job postings well before they are prepared to apply, so that you gain that awareness of what the employers in your field are seeking. I went out a couple days ago and pulled this job posting off a website I like, which is called Indeed.com. It's one of my favorite websites for finding jobs and positions. You can list geographically where you're looking, put in a basic search string, and then find things that are relevant to you. And it's an excellent way to determine what skills they want you to have. For example, when we look at this one, if I can draw your attention to the section where they say this individual is going to be assigning duties. So they'll be helping the staff get tasks done that are critical for this hotel and resort. When I read that, I perhaps haven't already done that exact task, but I led a committee where I was assigning committee members to do certain parts of a task. So I have the same skill. We call it a transferable skill. So when I see that, I might jot down on my notes that, while serving on the curriculum committee, I, did this, this, and this. And make your description as specific as you can. What else are they looking for in this? Maintaining accurate records. If you are a wonderful detail person, this is an opportunity to find an example that will support that detail. So I need this individual to have strong leadership skills, but also be able to track money and billing and credit cards. So I need both sides of the brain working here, the interpersonal as well as the detailed side. So I may want to use an example of a time when I worked as a cashier and I had to count down my register at the end of the evening and balance it against the records within it. So that's something that we can pull out. No, it's not the same setting, but it is the same skill. They are also going to serve and do the functions of the general manager in their absence. So it's an ability to step up and complete additional duties. So again, there may be a time when you've had to do that in a different setting. If we go further, other duties as assigned, we all have those. But the thing that stands out to me in this one, sales and marketing efforts. So I'm starting to learn while reading this job description that it's going to be critical for the individual in this setting to be able to bring more business to this organization. If you have done any type of sales jobs, if you have marketed fundraising events, all of these types of skills will support this as you are applying to this position. So you want to think about that, keep that list, and realize how important it is going to be as we start to apply for this position if it's something that you are interested in. And then, of course, the dreaded all other duties as assigned, which means as additional tasks come up, we may have to take them on. So your ability to be flexible could be excellent. And it's funny because as you read these, you get to one where it's this, the external relationship that is critical for this position, account executives, to promote business. And I think when we are searching for a job with any type of organization, it is critical to understand they are hiring us so that we can help them be stronger and be better. So our focus during this job search process needs to be on what we can do for them and giving them solid examples of how we've already done that for someone else. So we're going to pull from your experiences in the classroom, from the group work that your instructors often ask you to do, from the knowledge that you've gained as you've studied, and then we're going to combine that with the additional experiences you've had outside of that classroom. And that is really what the employers are most interested in. After that, this job posting gets us to the requirements. We list the qualifications. This individual is going to need to have at least an associate's degree or an equivalent, or 6 months to 1 year of related experience and training. So you don't necessarily need the bachelor's degree for this position, but one thing that is always helpful about getting the bachelor's degree is that it will help you promote more effectively. And I think that's one reason many of us go on and get a degree, is because we've hit a point in our career where we need that skill and that experience to move forward. So although this does not state you need that degree, it should not stop you from applying if you have already achieved that goal, because it does give you a level of experience that they will be looking for. They also have special certification opportunities. And I'm pointing toward the alcohol awareness certification because a question I often receive from students is that perhaps they've held a job in a bar. They've been a bartender to pay for school, they've been a bartender to make ends meet, or it's a career they've enjoyed, but they're afraid to put that on the resume. This is a great example of how in some industries that's a wonderful skill to have, and that certificate that you need to perform that position can be a huge advantage. It's also important when you think about a job like being a bartender to realize what bartenders have to handle. Often it's a very busy environment, so they have to be very aware of who they're serving. They need to be certain the people are old enough to buy alcohol. They have to get drinks made and move very, very quickly all evening long. So it's not necessarily the fact that they are a bartender that's important, it's what goes into doing it well that may be the transferable skill that we are going to use on the resume. So when you're looking at those things, do not automatically discount those positions that we don't think an employer will be impressed by. It's our responsibility to find those transferable skills or those assets in the position and explain to the employer why they should be interested in them, or explain to the employer how that skill and that opportunity will make you strong in how you use the skill in their environment. It's our job to make that transition for them. They often will not make it for us. So don't discount experiences without sometimes digging a little deeper. As this job position went on, and I chose it because it was so in-depth, they talk about the skills and qualities. As we suspected on the first page, they want somebody with strong leadership skills. So when you go back to that skill list and compare your candidacy for the position to this posting, look for those opportunities to show that you have been a leader, that you have stepped up and encouraged and motivated others to achieve a shared goal. That's very easy to do for most of us as we look back on our personal accomplishments in life. We then want your ability to write effectively and to speak effectively to others. In this type of position, you may be writing and handling contracts. So the fact that you've taken writing intensive courses and that you have improved your writing skills will be critical. They will see that in your resume and cover letter, and that's one way to give them that example. But the fact that you will speak well and present yourself effectively to others is critical. This is a marketing type position. This is a leading the staff position. I need somebody with strong presence. And coming with an example of how you have done that and how comfortable you are will be a huge asset. planning and organizational ability. I think this sometimes is easier for non-traditional students because you're juggling so many responsibilities at one time. You know, many of you will be working full-time jobs and taking classes and handling a family. That takes a lot of planning and organizational skill. So you can pull from that and say, you know, it was important for me to achieve my degree and have an opportunity to get into this career field. And to do that, I had to organize and get this done and be certain that I was meeting all of my external responsibilities while still achieving my personal goals. And that's a fantastic skill, and you can definitely describe that to an employer and let them see how you'll be able to bring that into their environment. Finally, computer skills. Many of us who feel that we are very strong interpersonally sometimes lack the ability to handle computer skills, and they change so quickly, it can often be difficult to stay up to speed. A little research will let you know what each industry tends to require in computer skills. I encourage everyone to take a class in Microsoft Office. In this position, you may be using Excel. You will definitely, you may be using PowerPoint to sell to an organization you'd like to use your hotel for their conference. So we all, even though we may not be comfortable with the computer, can't ignore it. So when you see that, be ready to tell them what computer skills you have exactly, what systems you have worked with, so that they can see if you can handle a system that they will be using in the workplace. And finally, the accounting knowledge, that attention to detail. That's really critical. So be prepared to discuss that. Finally, with this one, what I found interesting were the working conditions. This, of course, is a service position. You will be required to work nights, weekends, and holidays. It is fast-paced, and this individual will be on call when they are not at work. If this is something you don't wish to do, don't apply, because in this industry, this is non-negotiable. So you need to read the full job posting and be ready to say, it's okay if I don't spend Christmas with my family, or I don't mind missing Easter Sunday, because in this type of industry, you will be prepared to do that. So that's part of what they are laying up front for it. So read a lot of job descriptions. And I tend to make my search online very vague. If I would like to get into sales and marketing, I might search on communication skills or sales, because one of the things we often are not aware of are what job titles fit our skills. So a broad search on a website such as Indeed.com will allow you to see many other job titles which may fit you that you were up to this point not aware of. It's also a great way to use the Career Services Office. As students of Eastern, even if you aren't on campus, we are available to you through phone appointments, email appointments. Many of us can stay late if you are local but work full-time. So take advantage of our office as well to help you have a wider range of what employers may be interested in you. So up to this point, we have learned that a college degree is critical, but it takes more than that. We know that you need to identify your skills and then come up with specific examples that illustrate those skill sets. That is very much what an employer will be looking for. And we want to be certain that you have prepared that list and you're ready to go. Now, how do you brand yourself? That term is so popular out in the world today and the media, and many of us are uncertain what it really means. Branding yourself means being certain that you clearly state what skills you have and what you can do for someone. And then you use different media to market yourself. and to be certain that the people you need to hear that information are getting the right message. One of the best ways is to develop a targeted resume. When I began my career 17 years ago in the Career Services office, the strategy was to have a general resume and a targeted cover letter. And as the economy has become more challenging for job seekers, the expectations of the employers have changed. And now they very much expect you to only give them information which is specific to them. That's a targeted resume. That's why I'm encouraging you to do research early on what skills and experiences the employers are looking for so that you know how to target that resume. One of the best ways to take a look at how to target a resume is to go to the Career Services website. Let me see. Let me click out of here, please. I try to bring that up for you. Antoine, can you help me with that real quick? Sorry. We'll have it up in just a second. Okay, here we go. Thank you. This is the Career Services website, and it's got much information that will be valuable to you. I want to take you to the Job Search Resources tab, and then go under the section that will say Resumes. We've got quick tips to help you know how to get started. Some of what I've already shared with you: begin reviewing the job description. I tell students to lead with your most important information and most relevant information and work down. The big debate today in resumes is the use of an objective. 5 years ago, we all used an objective, and it was considered a critical piece of the resume. Right now, the reviews from employers are mixed. Some employers still like seeing the objective, and they like having that information on there. Other employers don't mind its absence and prefer that you fill the resume itself with related information. If you use an objective, it is specific and focused on the employer and the specific job. And you can see some examples. Seeking a management position, utilizing my strong organizational skills, educational background, and customer service focus. That's an objective. You can also see that we very well may leave that out and instead use the space on the one-page resume to let them know what the skills are and give solid examples. The other area that I want to be certain students take a look at when we get to the resume section are the keywords. Keywords are the other reason that I am suggesting you read the job descriptions, because it is critical when you are corresponding or speaking with an employer that you use words that they are using in their industry. So industry-related jargon is critical. You learn the keywords by reading the job description. You learn them by visiting an organization's website and reading the information they have available there. And then you are certain those keywords are on the resume that you submit. We have an example toward the bottom where it says professional summary. That's one way to include those keywords. We can include them in a skills section, or they may just end up in the body of the resume itself in your descriptions, but they must be on there. One thing we have to realize today is how the application process works. And I'm sure you have dealt with the fact that you're no longer applying in person, you're applying online. And we need to understand how the online application works so that you give them the information that will make them understand that you do have the skills they're looking for. When you upload a resume into an employer's database or a job bank, what happens is that resume is held electronically and an individual does not look at it initially. So you've applied for this sales position and you and 400 of your closest friends are sitting in this database hoping that the recruiter will pull you up and take a look at what you have to offer. How does that process work? They take those keywords that are critical for the position and they key them in to that database and ask the computer to research all of those resumes in that database and to pull up the ones that match the highest number of keywords. So even if you have the exact experience they are looking for, but you haven't used the correct terminology, your resume may not be selected. So it's critical that we spend the time up front learning those keywords, targeting each resume so that you have a shot to get the experience you're looking for and to get that position. So the keyword section is very, very important, and that's why we have that posting on our website to help you understand how that works. I also want you to take a look at the action verbs. This is just a huge list that we have that will show you the action verbs that you might use to make your resume read in a more interesting manner. I don't want you to use words like worked with. Worked with is much too vague, and I don't know what skill you actually utilized. But if you tell me that you analyzed data to assist in decision making, that you administered testing to students to determine their grade level, I now understand clearly what you've done. So that's why we give you this list, because when we use these words that are much more descriptive in nature, they almost paint a picture when we see them. That's the experience I want once an individual is reading your resume, because we remember stories, we remember pictures in our head, and if we can give them something very active such as these words, they have a better chance of remembering the skill set that follows it. So that's a critical section for you to take a look at and understand. The next step that I like students to be aware of is the value of the cover letter and the purpose for the cover letter. A cover letter is used anytime you are submitting a resume, but you're not handing it directly to someone. So for example, if you go to a career fair and you are going to walk up to a table and speak with a recruiter and hand them your resume, you don't need a cover letter, because your introduction and your discussion that you will have with that recruiter takes the place of the cover letter. But if we are applying online and they allow you to upload a cover letter, or if you are still sending something through the mail with your resume, we need something to introduce that resume, and that's the cover letter. The cover letters are critical because it gives you an additional opportunity to match yourself to the position. One of the things I find frustrating about resumes is that they are so cut and dry. We work so hard to keep them short and to the point that we often do not have a chance to give enough detail to really sell ourselves. We know that that will happen in an interview, but we're concerned about selling ourselves effectively enough to get that interview. The cover letter really straddles that gap, and it gives you a chance to give them a little more information than you've chosen to share on the resume, maybe to flesh out those skills or those brief examples and tell them more. The cover letter template that we have, I think, is excellent and primarily based on the body. I've been using this for several years. The feedback we have received in the Career Services Office is that employers respond very well to this format, and it's why we still offer it to you so that you can see what they are seeing. What I want you to be able to do is see the why I am writing to you paragraph. This tells the employer what position you're looking for and why you believe you would be a strong candidate for that position. This is also the paragraph where it is critical that you can name drop. If someone has referred you to the position or to the organization, I want them to see that up front in the first paragraph. After that, we're going to let them know why you're qualified in one paragraph or two. Pick 2 to 3 points, and this is where the work you've done with your skills section is so important, because those examples you have already identified are some of the examples you will choose from to show the employer that you have done and you have the skills they are looking for. You're going to pick 2 or 3. We don't have to match every skill the employer is looking for, and oftentimes we don't match every skill. So we pick the ones that we are strongest in and that we believe will hold their attention, and we do that in the cover letter. I sometimes tell students to look at the cover letter like a trailer for a movie. You know, they show us the parts that are fantastic to get us to go watch the whole movie. Same concept in your cover letter. I want to give them enough information to want to know more. So that's how we choose what goes in there. And then the last paragraph simply lets them know that we have attached or included the other information they've asked for, that the resume is there. If they've asked for anything else, a writing sample, letters of reference, or even a reference list, I will let them know that that is attached. And then we can let them know what will happen next. If you are looking for a sales position, I highly encourage you to let them know that you will contact them, by such and such date to see if you can arrange an interview. In sales, I expect you to be very outgoing. I expect you to be able to close a deal. And so your effort to close the deal in the cover letter will be appreciated. In other positions, we're not quite as comfortable being that direct. I, at one point, when I was job searching, closed my cover letters with a statement that read something like, I look forward to meeting you and discussing my qualifications for the career counseling position with your organization. Something nice to close the letter that is positive and appropriate. Critical step with cover letters is that you need to sound confident. Confident that you can do what they need you to do and that you will be a benefit to their organization. What I hear from people who are writing cover letters is that it's a very fine line between confident and cocky. I believe you sound confident if you share those examples. You don't make a broad statement like, if you do not hire me to work for you, you will be making the mistake of a lifetime. I can't prove that. But I can say, if you are looking for someone with strong skills in career counseling, I bring A, B, and C. I can say that. And I can confidently say that because I have backed it up by a solid experience. You can look along the side, and we can review this at the end if we have some time, about more of the resources we have in the Career Services Office. But it's a great way for you at the end of this webinar to go online and see this resource and be able to focus and learn more specifically some of the information that we are discussing. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. If we go back, I want to talk about the next section, which is, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Networking is critical. As I'm certain you are all aware, the job market is challenging. Many times we've been frustrated because we would have been fantastic in a position, but it was filled by someone who knew someone. And perhaps we aren't lucky enough to have all of those contacts. Well, then it's time to level the playing field and start gaining those contacts. It's a little bit of networking 101. First thing, get involved. You need to find ways in your limited time, which is often the case, to step outside of your comfort zone and start meeting people who can help you move into the industry or move ahead within your industry. That may mean speaking to your friends. They may not work in the industry, but you would be surprised who they may know. A next-door neighbor from when their childhood, somebody that they met waiting to talk to the dentist. So be prepared to let people know what you are looking for and hoping that some of that will turn into an opportunity. If you don't have those advantages or opportunities already, create them. Find out what is going on around you and participate. Perhaps you could volunteer for an opportunity to help with a networking event, or going to your Chamber of Commerce for an after-hours event. Maybe at the mall they're having a builders or a do-it-yourself weekend, and you're interested in working in that industry. The employers are all out there looking for clients, but nothing is stopping you from introducing yourself and letting them know the skills that you have to offer, because they're right there waiting to talk, and they are prepared to speak. So think outside of the box and make things happen. Volunteer at your child's school or with a local non-for-profit. Take a look at who's on the board of directors. Volunteering may get you to meet a variety of people who you otherwise don't know well, and gives them a chance to see what you have to offer in a different environment. We often have to step outside of our comfort zone, but if it means we meet somebody who can help us out and move forward, it is well worth the little discomfort, and it becomes much easier more often that we do it. I don't like networking in person. I'm not strong at it, but over years in my position, I've had to learn those skills, and it is much easier than when I first began. So it's something that is definitely a learned skill. Finally, we hear about social media, and the one site I want you to be aware of is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an online site that is basically set for that 7 degrees of separation. You go online, it is free, you set up a profile that includes your resume, and it is out there for recruiters and people you know to take a look at and build those opportunities. We build a list of connections. You have your first-tier connections, the people you know directly, but you also can see their connections and can be introduced through that method. Many of us at Eastern are on LinkedIn, so once you get a profile going, it's safe to connect to us. And then you can start to learn how to use this tool more effectively. It's also a great way to find jobs. Well, some of the resources my students are typically unaware of on LinkedIn, because they maybe look at it in a similar method as Facebook, but this is purely professional. You are not going to see pictures of people's children or their vacations. This is branding yourself, like we talked about earlier, and a wonderful opportunity to do so. What you will see is that there are groups you can join. For example, my students interested in public relations may join the online LinkedIn group for Public Relations Society of America, the Chicago chapter, because they then can see who are the members in the Chicagoland area. They can participate in the online discussions about the industry, which gives them wonderful opportunities to learn those keywords. What are people in the industry thinking about? What are their questions? And as you participate, they get to know your name. Employers are using this as a very popular method to screen potential candidates. Your information is out there. They will go on, they will take a look, and it's all right there for them to see. You can follow companies on LinkedIn so that you can see when they post, you can see what's important to them, and they can track their followers. So it's a wonderful way to make yourself marketable, meet people, and target employers. So I think LinkedIn is the one piece of social media job seekers cannot be without. Again, I really, really like the section that allows you to join groups and become familiar with that. There was a young man who graduated from Eastern several years ago who was in information technology, in computer programming. He was on LinkedIn. He joined a couple groups and jumped into some discussions and found out later that he was talking to some of the top people at Apple and Microsoft. So he's having discussions with people out on the West Coast, and when they flew into Indianapolis for a conference, they asked him to come to the conference so they could meet him in person, and it was a great way for him to network without leaving his home. But he built relationships that make a difference by using LinkedIn. We have information on our website about LinkedIn. We offer some workshops here on campus, and we're hoping to offer some through webinars such as this so that students can learn how to use this critical tool. But I pulled this information off of Wikipedia. There's a lot of great information out there so that you can build a good LinkedIn profile. Or again, it's something you can work on and then contact one of us in Career Services to take a look at it and give you some one-on-one advice on how to make it work for you. But it's a great way to show that you are computer savvy and to expand your network of people who can help you move forward. We've talked about a lot. One of the last things I want to leave you with at this point is that if you can start thinking like an employer, you're going to be able to give the employer what they're looking for. So what does that mean? Think if you owned your own company, what type of individual would you like to hire? What personal qualities, what skill sets are you looking for? What would be important to you? And if you approach your job search with that mindset, understanding what they're looking for, understanding why it's important to them to select the right person who will move their organization forward, you're going to speak to them like an employer and in terms that will matter to them. That's critical. That makes you believe that you are interested in helping them move forward, and that has proven to be something very, very important in the job search. Several years ago, when our economy took the first tumble, we saw so many layoffs, and we were getting ready to have our students graduate. And it was really a tough time for everyone and a very difficult time to work in career services. So I took an opportunity one day to ask one of our recruiters what it took for my new college graduates to compete with people who had been in the workforce for 5 years, had proven skills, and had just lost their job. You know, because I was thinking at that point about my more traditional age students, but I asked him, how do my students compete with those people who have proven skills? And his answer to me was really important, because he told me what was important to him in hiring and what would level the playing field for my new graduates with limited experience was that he believed they wanted to work for him, that they were genuinely interested in his company and his organization. And he said, I will pick a new college graduate with limited experience who is sincerely interested in my company over somebody who is just looking for a job any day. That's why we target information. That's why we research employers. That's why we use industry jargon and those keywords, so that we can not only think like an employer, but we can convince that employer that our focus is to make their organization stronger, to contribute to something that is larger than ourselves. Through that process, we are definitely hoping to move up and to gain skills and opportunities that will support us more effectively in the future. But that employer wants to know that you want to do the best work to make their organization stronger. And if you clearly indicate that through all of your experiences with them, you will consistently gain opportunities, because that's one of the critical things they are looking for. So think like an employer. Identify your skills. Illustrate for them clearly that you have done what they are looking for and that you can contribute to their organization and move their mission statement forward and help them achieve their goals while improving your options and your opportunities. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't encourage you again to visit the website for Career Services, to look at what we can do for you. I know sometimes for students who may never take part in a class physically on our campus, it can seem like our office isn't available to help you. But as I said, we have a wonderful website, and if you go on that website, it will identify for you the staff members who are targeting your specific career areas. All of our emails are available on there, and we will do as much as possible to make ourselves available to you through a medium that works for you, whether that be a phone interview, whether that be an email dialogue. We are fine with meeting your needs however we can, because as students of Eastern Illinois University, we serve you. I am employed to be certain that you gain the career information and guidance that you are looking for, and we are here to serve everyone. So take advantage of the website. Contact us. Get involved. Let us work with you one-on-one so that you can achieve the goals that you're working very hard to achieve. I want to leave a couple minutes here at the end so that if anyone has questions, you can post them in the chat box and we can address those specifically in case perhaps I didn't cover something that is of interest to you. So we can take a second and see if anybody has a specific question. And Audrey can let me know if there's something she wanted me to cover that I didn't go over for the students.
Thank you, Bobby. That was an excellent presentation. As an academic advisor, hearing all of your advice and suggestions has really energized me, too, of how I might better serve the students who send me messages and questions about their career and how they can use their bachelor's degree once they graduate. I think that was very beneficial for our adult student population. I really appreciate your time today in helping us with this, and also in recognition of National Non-Traditional Student Week. Eastern Illinois University has so many students who are not here on our campus, and sometimes it's easy, for some people here on campus to forget that they are there. And I always have felt that the Career Services Office has recognized and has very well served that off-campus population. I encourage anyone who's out there listening and participating in our audience with this webinar today to please take this opportunity to present a question for Bobby. She's right here available for your service to help you and answer any questions. If there's something that maybe you had a question in mind before she started her presentation, don't be shy now to ask it, even if it's not particularly relevant to something that she spoke of today, because she has a lot of years of experience, a lot of knowledge, and she's here to help you, and I'm sure she can answer any questions that you might have.
Let me, while we're waiting to see if anything comes up, let me pull that website up again really quickly and show you some other areas that might be beneficial, just to give some information about the last few minutes. If you are somebody who is not going to go on for a job search but is thinking about going on for graduate school, that is something else that we help students with in the Career Services Office. Making the decision, do I need a graduate degree? There's There's a belief out that I'm hearing frequently that a bachelor's degree isn't enough today and everyone needs a master's degree. And I counter that. It is vital in some positions and industries. It's not critical for everybody. So I think it's important to look at resources and ask yourself questions. Do I require an advanced degree? Can I get a job and will the employer pay for my advanced degree? Which is often much better than going into debt if necessary or taking more money out of savings to achieve that goal if you don't need it. So besides doing the job search, we're going to help you with whatever that next step may be. What do I need to do? What would help me move forward? Sometimes we just talk about career planning in our office. The goal may be 10 years down the road, but we have to start somewhere to get us to that goal. So we talk with a lot of students about career path. How do I get where I'm trying to go? Because sometimes it's not obvious. So that's a discussion we can have when we discuss career planning and exploring careers. We have a wonderful section on our website that will talk about undecided majors, which sounds odd because most people know what they want to do. But the undecided major section has a post of what can I do with this major. And what I like about this, it'll take us to, I think, a different site, but I won't open it now, but it will go to a section where there's a list of, let's say you're interested in business management. They will give you a list of job titles that are often good for business management. And then the second column will give you information about who hires people in that field. And a third column will give you some strategies to break into that industry. So while you are exploring beyond exactly what's in front of you today, although you may not be an undecided major, I really find this what can I do with this major section to be critical and to help people get a broader idea of the types of organizations who need the skill sets you enjoy supplying. So the more opportunities we know are out there for people with our skills, the easier it will be to locate a position because we're not looking in a little bubble, but we have a much broader area so that we know who needs us to make their organization better. So that's another area on the Career Services website that you can research from home and maybe get some ideas of questions that you want to ask us during a follow-up appointment from this webinar. But I highly encourage you to seek out the site, to take a look. The About Us section will show you who the staff members are and what we're focused on. And as you see, we've got the emails right there so that you can get in touch and so that we can assist you with being successful. I'm not seeing any questions come in, so I will pass it back to Audrey. And I really appreciate everyone's attendance today and hope that I was able to give you some good information that will help you move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. That was an excellent presentation. I want to thank everyone who logged in today to listen to our webinar and participate. I also want to thank the EIU Technology Services Office for helping us to set this up and make it possible for our off-campus students during Non-Traditional Student Week. So since we don't have any questions posted, I'm going to guess that Bobby must have answered all questions. And you do have her email address and phone number if you think of something later. So once again, thank you so much. And I want to wish everyone a happy National Non-Traditional Student Week. Thank you.